Hello, my name is Lizzie, and this is Lizzie's Literary Life, and today we are going over my TBR and some FAQs for Wonderthon. So, if you don't know, Wonderthon is a readathon that I host. This is the second year I've done it. It's a whole lot of fun, very crazy and chaotic. If you don't know what it is, I will have the announcement video linked right here. I think I'll have the announcement video linked up in the corner. So watch that first, or you can watch my TBR first, but don't watch the FAQs section before watching the announcement. If you want to join, and all the links to join and everything are in that announcement video. At this point, if you're here, you know what Wonderthon is. Today we're going over my TBR, which is a lot of books, and that'll be the first section of the video, and then we'll get into some FAQs, some things about the rules that either I thought were confusing and could use some more explanation, or people requested more explanation on. So I'll get to that after I get to go through my TBR. For my TBR for this readathon, you can you can build a TBR very strategically, or you can just kind of read whatever and fit it into the prompts. And I actually am not on a team. There are 4 teams, and I am the Empress. I am not on any of them. But the way I submit my books is that every time I finish a book, I submit it to the team that is currently in last place. So if you're losing, you get a little boost from me. So you probably don't want me to submit books to be on your team, but maybe we'll all be there at some point. So I'll be submitting to whatever team is in last place. And I built this TBR not looking at the prompts at all. I am just reading whatever I want to read, because honestly, throughout all of this year, and I feel like for a really long time, I've been reading, I am a TBR reader, but I've been reading from really strict TBRs of projects that I'm doing. And I haven't really been able to just read whatever I want in a long time. So this list is books. There's a couple priority or required reads, or reads that are for specific things, but mostly it's just books that I've been wanting to read and haven't gotten around to, books that I think I'm gonna love. We're hoping to get a 5-star during Wonderthon, because I haven't had a 5-star yet in 2024. So I've split the TBR into sections: my physical books that I'm going to read on my Kindle, and then audiobooks. I'm going to start with the physical books. They are mostly actually from my physical TBR that I own, and then there's one library book. And we are starting it off with Legends and Lattes, which actually I'm pretty sure someone from Wonderthon last year gifted this. Ellie Marna gifted this to me. So Ellie Marna was on Ephesus last year and is on Venice this year. And she gifted this to me after last year's Wonderthon, and I haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but I've been so excited. I really think I'm going to love this. So this is the first book, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, on my physical book TBR. And then we have I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. This was on the women's prize list last year, you can see, 2023. And I didn't get around to reading it because it wasn't shortlisted, but it's really short. So I can really fly through it, though because of the modifiers, it won't get as many points, but we'll get into that in the FAQ section. And the font is small, but I just am I'm excited to read it, and it's on my physical TBR. I own it, and I haven't read it yet. And then we have Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. This is a book that a lot of people love, so maybe it'll be a 5-star for me, I hope. I got this book, this and the next one I got for free from work. There was just a table of free books, and I just picked these up. But this is a memoir. Looking forward to it. The other one that I got for free was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I have loved a Lisa Jewell thriller before, and even if I don't adore this one, thrillers are always fun and easy, so that's good. We have Pure Color by Sheila Heti. I bought this book in Pittsburgh on my road trip last summer, and again, it's really short, nice quick read. Since I have so many books on this TBR, it's good to have some short ones in there. And I think I could love this. I think this could be a book that I could give 5 stars. I don't really know anything about it, but it's signed by the author, apparently. Ooh. Anyway, this is on here. And then we have The Maiden by Kate Foster. This is on the Women's Prize list this year, but I didn't get to it in either of my Women's Prize vlogs, but I do want to read this. It's like my most recent purchase, so I do want to read this soon. And finally, the library book that I have is Birnam Wood by Eleanor Catton. This is another that I think could be 5 stars. I think that I could love this. This was on the Carol Shields Prize for fiction this year. So Ruby from Ruby read it and loved it and talked about it in a way that made me think I could love it. So hopefully I do. And then the ebooks that I'm going to read, I do have Kindle Unlimited right now because there was a 3-month deal. So I'll be reading some Kindle Unlimited books, including Powerless by Elsie Silver, which is the 3rd book in the Chestnut Springs series, romance series, and I did really enjoy the first 2. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star just because it's really hard for a romance to get a 5-star for me, especially a straight romance, but I'll have fun with it regardless. I wanted a fun Kindle Unlimited thriller, and I have decided to go for The Housemaid by Frida McFadden because people love that book. Again, I don't know if it'll be something that I absolutely adore, but I'm sure I'll have a lot of fun with it. And then we have The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent, which is the sequel to The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I did really enjoy. So a good sequel on there from Kindle Unlimited. And then to put another 5-star prediction in there, Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers. I love Becky Chambers. I've given multiple of her books 5 stars. So that's not on Kindle Unlimited, but I did get it. I did put it on hold at the library on my Kindle, on Libby. So really we're going for 5-star predictions with this TBR, where I'm going to get them. I'm going to get a 5-star. And then I have my Throwback Book Club read. So the Throwback Book Club is a book club that I host with another one of the team captains, Danielle from Danielle Reads. And it is what it sounds like. We read throwback books, so books that we loved when we were teenagers, 2010s type books. And we read, the first series we read was The Hunger Games, and then we read Beautiful Creatures, and now this month we are reading a selection of Sarah Dessen contemporary books to go for a different vibe. So we're reading, and I'm planning to read all 3 of those during Wonderthon. So we're reading That Summer, which is Sarah Dessen's first book. We're reading Just Listen, which is probably her most popular book. And we're reading Along for the Ride, which is the book that has a movie adaptation. And then we're going to watch the movie too. So I'll read all 3 of those on ebook during Wonderthon. And, I'm probably not going to get to all of these because it's 18 books or something, but more than that, 20 books on this TBR, and I will be busy reading spreadsheets also, but lots of options. So my audio options, the first one is my Buzzwordathon pick. Me and Ruby, Venice Queen team captain, are doing a non-fiction Buzzwordathons. We're taking Kayla from Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon challenge, and we're doing non-fiction books for each buzzword every month. And the buzzword for June is repeating words. And so we're going to be reading I Am by Maggie O'Farrell, which is her memoir. She wrote Hamnet and The Marriage Portrait, both of which I enjoyed. And so I'm looking forward to reading her memoir, listening to it on audio. And then we have Catherine Parr, The Sixth Wife by Alison Ware, which is the 6th and final book in the 6 Tudor Queen series, which I've been reading for ages. And all of those books have gotten 4 or 4.5 stars. None of them I don't think have been 5 stars yet, but this is the final one. So maybe it'll get there. And that one I will listen to on audio. And then a book that's been hanging out on my saved list on Everand for ages that I just haven't gotten around to is Hester by Lori Lico Albanese, which I think is a Scarlet Letter retelling that just sounded interesting to me, so I'm hoping I'll get to that during the readathon. Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll is also on Everand, and I've heard really good things about that one, so I'd like to read that. And then we have some books from former 5-star authors. So really, if I don't get a 5-star out of this list, I quit reading. So we have Rouge by Mona Awad. I gave Bunny 5 stars, and I think I could maybe love Rouge. I don't know. People don't seem to like it as much, but I'm going to give it a try. Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. Now's Not the Time to Panic was actually 4.5 stars, I think, but it was close enough that Kevin Wilson could pull out a 5-star. And Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austin. I loved, gave 5 stars to Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. So Emily Austin could do it for me. So that's my TBR. That's my crazy 20-book TBR for Wonderthon that I will definitely not get to all of those. But that's the pile of possibilities that I'm choosing from. And now we're going to move into the FAQs. So, first of all, disclaimer for this FAQ section, I'm going to go into a lot of the math. And you don't have to really get the math to participate. Like if that's not your thing and you don't want to think about it that way, just submit your books and the spreadsheet does all the math for you. But if you really want to understand, this is why I'm putting this out here for you. So choose how you want to participate. You don't have to. If you don't get this 100%, then it's not like you can't participate. You can totally participate and have fun without really thinking deeply about this stuff. But I know that when I participate in a readathon, this is how I like to do it, by really getting deep into the rules, and that's why I created this readathon. So here is all that information for you. Sorry if you can hear my cats playing next to the mic. I apologize. So first thing I wanted to talk about was team size averaging. So right now, as it stands, Rome is the biggest team, followed by Venice, and then Florence and Milan are kind of even right now, as the smallest. But no, Rome does not have an advantage because they're the biggest, which I think most people know, but I just want to clarify. The way that averaging works is that each category, so each of your category totals, are averaged by the numbers of players. So when you get to the showcases, you're not comparing the raw number of points earned between the two teams, because that would mean, obviously Rome's going to have earned more points than Florence because they have more people, but it's those point values are divided by the number of players, so it's averaged out. So it's number of civics points per player being compared. Then let's talk about the modifiers, because I think the modifiers are a little confusing, but I think they're a really good rule. I think people are excited about it. So I'm going to give an example of how a specific book's score would be calculated. So we're going to take this book right here, and we're going to say we are submitting it for economics. So it's my first book I'm submitting for economics. So I go to the very last page, 423. Oh, I lied. The acknowledgements have a page number. 424. So you're going to the very last page that has a number on it, even if it's the acknowledgements. 424. So I'm moving 4 spaces on the economics board. And that brings me to the green 20-point space. So my base category score is 20 points. Now, this is literary fiction, so we'll say I'm in Venice. I'm in Venice. I got 20 points from the economics board. It's in my team genre, so I'm going to add on those 10 points for my team genre bonus. Then we get to the modifier. So you've got 20 is the economics category score, 10 is the team genre bonus, and then the modifier is based on the page number. So what did I say the page number was? 424. So it's in the 400 to 499 range, for which the modifier is times 1.2. So we have those 30 points from the category and the team genre. We do that times 1.2, which gets us 36. So this book would be worth 36 points. Now, what I want to point out here is that you can use the personal points tracker to calculate all of this for you. You just put everything in and it'll spit out the number of points it's worth. You can even put in all the information for all the categories if you're not sure which category to submit it to, and just change that one little toggle for the category, and it'll change the category you're submitting it to and calculate it for different categories, and you can see where you can get the most points. The next topic I want to cover is the science category, because I think the science category is the most confusing category to submit to. It's this flowchart. I'll put it on the screen, and I'll give you a couple examples of ways you could go through this. So you start at either an audiobook or an ebook or physical book. Every book's going to fit into one of those categories, so you can always start there. You could do one book for each of the 4 levels and go through the board with 4 books. That's not the most efficient way to do it, though, because you can use 2 prompts per book. So for example, you could use one book that is both an audiobook and a middle grade or a YA book. And then you go down the paths that your next book could be either a TBR vet that also has a romance, a TBR vet that also has an earth element, a book that's new to your TBR that also involves a journey, or a book that's new to your TBR that also involves a water element. So you see how I'm using one book for the first 2 levels and one book for the last 2 levels, and where I'm following the paths. So you can't do an audiobook that's a middle grade and then jump over to the favorite genre, because if you're in a boat and you're going down the canals, you can't jump across the land in your boat. You have to follow the water paths. Now, after Milan has gotten their advantage, it's a little different. They still have to go through the levels in order, but they can skip around horizontally. So you could use an audiobook that's a new release, and then a less read genre that's an earth element. So you're jumping around horizontally, but you still have to go down the levels. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Your team captains are also really good at explaining this stuff too, and giving examples. So if you're not sure how this works, give an example of what you're confused about in the Discord, and we will help you figure it out. The next topic I want to cover is the team genres. How do you know if something's in your team genre? If it's like overlapping multiple genres, or I know Venice's team genre is a little bit broad with the literary/general fiction. So what I've decided to do as kind of a hard and fast rule is you want to search up the book on, if you're not sure whether it's in your team genre, search up the book on Goodreads and look at the first 3 listed genres. If you're on Milan, the genre you're looking for is romance, obviously, Rome, mystery, thriller, or horror. If one of those shows up in the top 3, you're fine. Same with Florence. If science fiction or fantasy shows up in those top 3 genres, you're fine. For Venice, what you're looking to show up in those top 3 genres is fiction, literary fiction, or historical fiction. But also, because a lot of books that are other genres are labeled as fiction, you cannot count a book for Venice's team genre if fantasy, mystery, thriller, or horror is in those top 3 genres. If any of those are there, you can't use the book for Venice. If romance is there in the top 3, it's fine, because there's a lot of crossover between lit fic and romance, but it can't be first. If romance is the first genre, that's Milan's territory. If you're on Venice and you're not sure if a book is going to work for your team genre, look at the Goodreads top 3. If you see one of the other team's genres in there in the top 3, you can't use it unless it's romance, but romance can't be first. And the genres you want to see are fiction, literary fiction, and historical fiction. Last couple things. Someone asked about page discrepancies if you are starting a book before the readathon starts or if you DNF a book during the readathon. And the first rule is that you do have to read at least 50% during the readathon in order to count it. If you DNF at 20%, you can't count it. If you read 90% of a book before the readathon starts, you can't count it. But if you have read at least 50% of the book during the readathon, for economics, you're still going to use this last page number, the very last number on the page, or the Goodreads page count. Use the full page count for however you move on economics, because you don't necessarily know you're going to DNF a book. So planning-wise, you're always just going to use the last page count for economics. But when the form asks how many pages your book was, you're going to put in how many pages you read during the readathon. And that's what's going to count for modifiers and Wonder points. So if you DNF a book 60% of the way through, on page 340, when it says on the form how many pages was it, you're going to put 340, even if the whole book is longer. Same if you started the book before the readathon, note what page you're on the first day. When you finish it, subtract the number of pages total minus the page you're on to get the number of pages you read during the readathon, and that is what will count for modifiers and Wonder points. For showcase points, when a showcase is declared, the two teams' category scores in the chosen category are compared. So let's say we've got a showcase in the art category. We've got Venice versus Rome. Venice has 50 points. Rome has 30 points. That difference is 20 points. Venice, the winner, is going to take 40% of that difference as a prize. So 40% of 20 is 8. So Venice is going to get 8 points as a prize. And who did I say? Rome? Rome is going to get 10% of that difference as a penalty. So 10% is 2 points. So Rome is going to get minus 2 points. That 8 points and that 2 points, the prize and the penalty, go into each team's showcase balance. And then the next showcase, if Rome wins and they get 10 points as a prize, their showcase balance is then 8. I'm throwing out numbers here and I feel like it's making it more confusing, but all of the showcase outcomes for each team are added to find the showcase balance. To get the final scores, the 4 category scores are averaged. So art, civics, science, and economics are averaged, and then the showcase balance is added on top of that. So the showcase balance, if you've lost all your showcases, might be negative, and then you would have less than your average of the 4 categories. If you've won most of your showcase, you'll have more than, you'll have something to add to that average because your showcase balance is positive. And that, I think, is everything I have to say. I hope that was clear. I feel like I've been talking for a long time, and I think I'm going to cut a lot of it out, but it is what it is. If you have more questions, ask them in the Discord, but I will be there to answer them, and so will your team captains. And I'm really excited to get started in just a couple weeks. Readathon starts on June 15th, and I will close signups about 24 hours after the Readathon starts, just so we're not messing with the averaging by people joining late. And yeah. Give this a video a like and a comment and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one coming very soon. Bye.